Very good afternoon, everyone. It's Thursday afternoon, and this is the Lite Bite Lunch. Joining us today, I'm delighted to be joined by Niall Doyle from Permanent TSB. From Phytofix, we have Dr. Conor Curley, and we have Karen Sweeney from the Western Development Commission, who are all going to share some secrets with you and little ideas of how to get the best out of as we come to the end of lockdown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each one of them an opportunity to introduce themselves and just tell you a little bit about what they do before we get into the discussion fully. So we'll start off with Niall from Permanent TSB.
Thanks, Ruairi. Hello all, Niall Doyle is my name from Permanent TSB, and I'm the Territory Sales Manager in County Wicklow. So effectively I work out of County Wicklow, but happy to give any advice from anybody around the country really. It's more so just my base. We do several things, as do the other banks. So I suppose a big role in my mortgages. Typically before COVID, we would have seen mortgages based around Wicklow, South Dublin and all the rest. But the landscape is really changing now. In fact, that people are looking to buy in the West and down the country and all the rest because they can work from home. So that's a very interesting development in our job. The other type of products we offer are SME, and I would like to talk about that in particular with micro businesses. We do lend to those and SMEs. The only real criteria we have, I suppose, the starting criteria is that you would need to be in business for 3 years or more before we could potentially look at lending to you. Some of the other products we do are home improvement loans, which are very popular at the moment because everybody seems to be doing a conservatory or a kitchen or a bedroom or doing something up. So we can do home improvement loans at very competitive prices. And then other than that, really, we have our home insurance, current accounts, and all the normal products. And I suppose the last thing we do is we look at bank assurance. So the likes of that is pensions and investments and protection and how to protect you and your family going forward. So I suppose we've a pretty full house, really, and thankfully we're busy, particularly on the mortgage front. Everybody is looking at moving either down the country or trading up or doing one thing or another. So thankfully, it's quite busy at the moment. The pandemic certainly has slowed us down. And that's about it for me, Rory, for now.
Well, that's absolutely brilliant. Well, we'll switch over now to Dr. Conor Curley from Phytofix.
Thanks, Rory. Hi to everybody out there. So I'm a doctor of nutrition, and I founded a company called Phytofix, Phyte meaning plant, based on my own research and expertise. So what we do is we put together nutrition products with extraordinary benefits for our users. Our first product is called ImmuneFix, and it's designed specifically for immune function and energy levels. So we won the Irish Quality Food and Drink Awards in December, even though we only launched in November. And then we actually won the World Food Innovation Awards in March of this year. So it was phenomenal. There was 176 entries from 22 countries, and a little company from Ireland won. So our initial product is called ImmuneFix, and it comes as a powder. You simply add a teaspoon of the powder in any food or drink every day, and it provides you everything you need for your immune health and your energy levels. For example, we get a vitamin B12 from our Irish mushrooms, and a single teaspoon of our product contains a full amount of vitamin B12. That's 250 grams. We also get a vitamin C from berries and cherries, a vitamin D from marine algae, and magnesium from the Irish sea, and so forth. So right now we're looking to expand our product range, and we're looking at products for inflammation, also for gut health, and also for cholesterol. So if anybody's interested, please check us out and please do get in touch.
That's absolutely brilliant, Conor. Thanks. And we'll go over now to Karen Sweeney from the Western Development Commission.
Hi everyone, delighted to be here to speak to you this afternoon. My name is Karen and I'm the Regional Communications Executive with Western Development Commission. Just to give you a little bit of background on the Western Development Commission, we are a statutory body and we've been in operation since 1997, and we promote social and economic development in the Western region. We cover a lot of areas as an organisation, and one of the things that we do is advise the government on issues that impact on the region. We run an investment fund that provides loans and equity to businesses and local communities in the Western region, and we promote the region from the perspective of living, working, and doing business. And that's my specific area of work, regional promotion. Which brings me to a new project that we launched on Tuesday called westernjobs.ie. This portal is aimed at attracting professionals and their families to make new lives in the west of Ireland. Westernjobs.ie will help job seekers to find open roles in the region and assist employers in gauging the availability and depth of skills in the region. It's the first portal of its kind for the west of Ireland, and it's free to use for both job seekers and employers. It's going to support hundreds of employers in the region to find and attract talent, but it would also become a one-stop shop for job seekers to find out more about living in the West and job opportunities. And westernjobs.ie is now live for registration for both employers and job seekers.
That's brilliant, Karen. Thanks very much for that. So, first thing I want to talk about is that idea of upping stakes and heading off to the west, making that move off to the west of Ireland. Right? What do you think, Karen, is the big attraction for people at the moment? Is it remote working? Is it quality of life? Is it affordability?
Yeah, I think there is a range of benefits. I think remote working has really opened up the space where people can actually see, well, I don't have to compromise on my quality of life. But, what we would say is that benefits include varied and quality career opportunities, lower property prices for buyers and for renters. We've got lower childcare costs, lower pupil-teacher ratios in schools, and less commuting times as well, which all leads to what we're always talking about in terms of this greater work-life balance, which is really what everybody is looking for, to be able to balance their work and their lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that's a very important part of it, is getting that balance right.
Mhm.
I mean, are you seeing, though, and again, and I had this discussion with Dennis Norton a few weeks ago when he was on the show with the rural development plan. Is it likely that we're going to see small villages overrun with an influx of people, where the schools are going to become overrun with numbers and that type of thing, and those benefits of having the likes of the teacher-pupil ratio are going to rocket upwards?
I think it's always supply and demand. And, I think all we can do is gauge people's interest. People have always, it's not a new concept, that people have been trying to move to the west of Ireland and relocate. So, I don't think that we're going to have any major issues in that sense. Not really, no.
Yeah, but that's good. No, that's good. As I said, I mean, as anyone that watches regularly will know from my own story, I was living. I'm originally from Dublin. I was living down in Arklow, and in 2017 I up sticks and moved to Leitrim. So, I mean, I've done that move. I see the value, the benefit, the quality of life, the affordability. I see all of that. And so, in that sense, I'd say to anyone, if you get the opportunity, jump at it. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I mean, now that we have greatly improved broadband and whatnot, and of course, we have all the hubs dotted around the country as well, it's one that's certainly worth doing. And would you say, if somebody was to come to you and say, well, what are the pitfalls in doing it?
The pitfalls, I think there's always the fear of the unknown for people. There's a lot of factors to consider when you're making a move anywhere, not just to the west of Ireland. But what we strive to do with Western Development Commission and westernjobs.ie is to provide as much information as we can to help people to make that decision to move. So on our website, Western Development Commission, we have a guide, the ultimate guide for moving to the west of Ireland, which kind of outlines, like certain stats and figures. So if I could just give you some examples, Leitrim, for example, has childcare costs of €148 per week, and that's full-time childcare compared to a national average of €184. The average cost of renting in the region is €757, based on a national average of €1,402. And the average, as I said, the average pupil teacher ratio is currently 17:1 in primary schools. So, pitfalls to consider. I think people maybe in the past have had expectations that maybe they had to downsize their careers or there wasn't as many opportunities. But really, what we're doing with Western Jobs is showcasing that you don't have to take a step back in your career to move back to the west of Ireland. The employers here in this region are offering amazing benefits to their staff and are really, really focused on retaining staff, but also attracting staff, and ensuring that, there's a good environment for their families. So, I think it's about weighing up your options and always making sure that you're as informed as possible before making the move.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely a key factor in is making sure you've checked everything out. I mean, to my mind, my big concern before I moved up here was you don't have everything on your doorstep. Now I would say one of the greatest assets of living up here is you don't have everything on your doorstep because you have that bit more space and that type of thing, and it actually helps you function far better because the fresh country air is something that really does help when you wake up in the morning and you're looking out on a nice view and the like. It does make all the difference. So for us all to make this move to the west, we're all going to need to be talking to somebody nice in banking. So that's where you come in, Niall.
Hopefully.
In terms of when it comes to finding the right partner for business banking, now I know you can only talk for permanent TSB, right? But what are the key factors? Somebody who's a couple of years in business, they're not sure if they're happy or they're not happy with the bank they're with, and they're thinking about changing. What would you say are the key factors they should be looking at?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a relationship, be that with the bank manager or the business lender in the branch, and that's something that's key. Like in years gone past, everyone had a relationship manager, and I suppose with the way the banking landscape is changing and maybe less staff in the branches, it's probably harder to find that now. So I suppose I'd go to your branch and identify somebody there that can help you grow your business. And I can only speak for permanent TSB, but in my own role as a territory manager, business development is a huge part of that. So if you were to borrow, I suppose, from TSB through me, I would be your relationship manager. You'd ring my mobile to identify, well, Niall, what do you think about this? Or should we do this? Or can I get money for this? Or can I get a statement for that? That's very, very important, rather than ringing a helpline, that you have somebody at the end of a mobile that can help you with a decision,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like the whole area of mortgages and business banking, anything like that, there are so many different pitfalls. I mean, are you better going and talking to a mortgage broker? Are you better going and talking direct with the banks? Like if I go in and have a chat with you about a mortgage, and we've gone through the general process and looked at possibilities, and I go down the road then and talk to another one of the banks, does that actually stand against you on your credit rating, or?
No, not at all. We would hope the service we provide, along with obviously the rates, which are important, will keep the business with us. But we certainly don't mind if you apply to a couple of different banks. Like as long as your credit rating and the previous loans you had or overdrafts or mortgages is good, and you paid them back on time every month, then obviously we'd be delighted to look at it for you. But to answer your question, there's no issue in the world applying for couple of different banks. Obviously, we'd be delighted if you chose ours, but in the main, it's no issue looking at else. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So it's something to look at, and I think one of the great things is the fact that permanent TSB do operate the basis that it doesn't matter where they are in the country. If you're the person dealing with them while you're based on the East Coast, they can be anywhere because we all have mobile phones these days, and it can all run through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a bit like this, Rory, like we're in 4 different parts of the country today and we're doing broadcasts on StreamYard. So if I was talking to a customer in Roscommon or Galway, it can be done by email or Skype or phone. Like there are no limits anymore. One time you would have said, oh, you had to be in Bray or Greystones, but those days are gone now. We can really meet anybody anywhere.
Yeah, which I think is great. And I think, again, the amount of flexibility that's come out with the banks in terms of when they can meet you or that type of thing as well is absolutely brilliant. As with all things in life, then we're going to have a quick chat a bit more with Dr. Conor Curley in relation to nutrition and balance. What is the secret, Conor, do you think, into getting that balance in life right, getting the nutrition right, and still feeling like your life hasn't become revolving around your nutrition and your health?
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no secret sauce. I'm sorry to say, but one sort of statement I guess springs to mind. Unfortunately, it's not from me, but if I can paraphrase a journalist in America, eat food, mostly plants, and not too much. So eat food, as in don't eat all these chemicals and all these protein bars and protein shakes. Just eat food, the foods that we all know and like, not too much. In other words, even broccoli, too much broccoli is bad. But that would be, a couple of kilos of broccoli. And then finally, I think the evidence is showing that mostly plant-based. It doesn't mean you have to be 100% vegan 100% of the time, but mostly plants, basing your diet around fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, things like that. So I don't think you're going to go too far wrong by eating food, not too much, and mostly plants.
Yeah, I think that's a very nice way and a very easy way to balance it out. On that discussion then, what would your ideal light bite lunch be?
You mean aside from being on the show?
Well, aside from being on the show, but no, like if you were going to throw something together quickly at home as a quick bite, what would you go for?
Yeah, so I have an interesting sort of hack for everybody who's listening. What I do is very simple, very quick. Usually, like a lot of people, I'm in a rush. So I would generally put something like a tin of chickpeas, a tin of sweet corn, maybe a tin of chopped tomato or sun-dried tomatoes, maybe with some onion powder, maybe some leaves. Put those on a whole grain wrap with some sauce, maybe some salsa sauce, maybe some peri, something like that. And some days I might add in some peanuts and cashews. And then you're going to get a really healthy, filling lunch, which is really, really easy and really, really cheap.
Yeah, I have to say now that sounds pretty good, and
I've
I mean,
had
what?
I've had it almost every day for lunch since lockdown began, so I can attest that it is pretty good.
Yeah, but I have to say now, for me personally, I'm very much a meat lover, but certainly now that sounds like it could definitely be something we'll be putting together. So what I might get you to do is drop me over that list, and we'll put it up on the page after the show, so that anyone that's looking for it will be able to access it as well. What about yourself, Karen? During lockdown, what has been your go-to lunch?
Well, I'm definitely of the same school of thought as Connor. I'm very focused on nutrition. So I'm a bit of it's going to be a healthy light bite lunch. Usually my go-to, like Connor, is like a salad. I'd have chickpeas, tofu. I'm not a vegetarian or a vegan, but I could take or leave the meat. Some days I'll have chicken, some days I'll have fish, but my go-to on a day-to-day basis for lunch is just a nice salad.
Absolutely. And what about yourself, Niall? While you're running between between branches and that type of thing, what would be your grab and go job?
I might have to review it, Rory, after listening to the lads there now, first of all. But I know in general, some like chicken wrap and vegetable soup would be lovely if I put into effort to that. Generally, something with meat in it anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, no, well, as I said to you, and I think it's a case that it's about having everything in balance. And once you're enjoying it and you're not overindulging as opposed to just enjoying. I think I don't see this. You can go too far wrong. Well,
Yeah,
it's
just maybe weigh in there, Rory, and say, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that people like me talk about what to add in, not always what not to do. So you hear people, oh, don't eat chocolate, don't eat meat, or whatever. But as in, just eat more vegetables is a really nice place to start. And we know that most people in the world, and including in Ireland, don't eat enough fruit and vegetables. So if anybody's listening and they maybe don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, really easy, really nice place to start. And don't worry about cutting anything out yet. More fruit and veg. Everybody agrees.
well. Again, I mean, I love my pasta, and one of the things I've started doing, again, for the purpose of trying to get more veg in there, is my tomato sauce. A load of spinach gets bunged in and blitzed down in it into the tomato sauce. Gives you a beautiful, rich sauce, and you're getting the health benefits as well out of it. So, well, we finally look like today we're going to get some light at the end of the tunnel. We've had a number of bits and pieces we're told we're going to be told, and we're hoping they are going to happen so that we can see some sort of return to whatever normal is going to look like. A quick overview that I managed to put together this morning from the different sources that we're talking about what may happen, what they may announce today, is freedom to travel across the country from the 10th of May. Hairdressers being back open, and my barber can't wait to see me. Retail being back open for click and collect, and team sports training will resume. You're going to be allowed up to 50 people to attend religious services, weddings, funerals, and masses. However, indoor wedding parties will remain capped at 6 and 15 for outdoor celebrations. And from the same date, up to 3 households can meet outdoors, which includes in private gardens, which they had taken away. And a vaccinated household can meet an unvaccinated household indoors. 3 vaccinated households can also meet indoors. Outside events with up to 15 people are also allowed. And we're being told that all construction should be back in operation from that date. A week after that, all shops are going to reopen. And then on the 2nd of June, our hotels and guest houses will finally get a chance to open their doors for the first time in a year. Then all outdoor hospitality is due to come online on the 7th of June. And from that day, sports matches will resume as well, but still without attendees. What does anyone think? Is it too soon to be putting out that much of a timeline? Would it make more sense to say this is what the plan is, subject to? Like if they come out and say, yeah, this is what's going to happen on dates A, B, and C, are we more likely to see anything? Like, are we more likely to see people getting more upset if numbers start spiraling and suddenly we have to reduce things again?
Yeah, I think they nearly have to give us dates, Rory. I think a lot of the country are getting fed up now, in fairness, and people are at the brink. So, like, at least we have something to work towards. It puts everyone in a better mood, Like, I hear you talking about sports coming back, which is absolutely brilliant. And obviously they'll have to manage to step forward within team sports. But even from a mental health perspective, for people to get back out and about on the playing fields, these sports people who were so used to doing it 3 or 4 nights a week before the pandemic and then nothing for almost 12 or 15 months. So I think that alone will be great for the country from a mental perspective more than anything,
Yeah, I think absolutely. I just see there one comment that's coming in there. Yeah, there we go. Mike Gary saying, great to see things beginning to open up. Really looking forward to some type of normality. I mean, what do we think? Is it actually going to be normality, or is it going to be a new normal? No one wants to take on. Are we going to go back to where we were, or?
I guess I would just say it's so difficult to know, to predict the future. COVID's already changed the world and changed the plans of governments and nations multiple times, and it probably will again. But as Niall just mentioned there, it is nice to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel and have a plan, even if that plan does have to change.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just being told here we have another comment about to come in there. Any prediction for international travel? As of yet, they haven't made any announcement in that regard, Monique. But certainly, if anything comes in through the show and we hear anything, we'll certainly bring that to you. So, how comfortable would any of you feel when hotels and guest houses reopen? Would you all be rushing out again to go off and book a staycation somewhere around the country, or would you be more of the mindset, well, let's just give it a couple of weeks and see what happens? Or would you be more so, in case things don't go right, I'm going to get my staycation in now?
Yeah,
Any thought?
I think the hotels around the country do a brilliant job when it comes to social distancing and cleanliness. And these people have been closed for best part of a year, so we really need to get out and support them now from a staycation perspective. So I, for one, will 100% be going up to Galway or Kerry or wherever we can, be that only for a couple of nights or something. Like, the hospitality sector has been hit massively, more than anything. So I think as a country, we really need to get behind them now when things do open up.
Yeah, well, I mean, through my day job as an accountant, I have had a couple of occasions over the year where I've had to stay in different parts of the country, through work and that type of thing. And I have to say, the attention to detail that every single premises I've been in has been outstanding. And I think it's a credit to Fáilte Ireland and to the Hotels Federation. They've all worked so closely together to make sure it's safe and to get the message out there that it is safe for people to come and stay. And I just hope we're not going to end up seeing it being abused and that a small minority will damage it for so many others. In terms of outdoor hospitality, I have to say there's one restaurant in Cavan who came up with a very novel idea. And what they've actually done is they have created park and dine. And that is, you pull in, you go in and you order at the counter, obviously proper social distancing, mask and the whole lot, you pay, you go back and sit in your car, and they actually bring the meals out to you on plates, knives, forks, the whole lot on a tray, and you sit in your car and eat it, and you drop them a message on WhatsApp and you're done, and they come out and take everything away. Right? And I thought that was a novel way of doing it because they don't have space to put a number of tables outside. In some ways, has the whole lockdown effect made businesses more resilient? Is it making them look harder at what they can do and where new ideas may lie?
Yeah, I think in particular, businesses going online has been one of the big things of the COVID pandemic. Like, if you look at restaurants and cafes, like in most instances now, you can go on and you can order your meal online, pick it up within 15 minutes. Maybe like retailers and local craftspeople who were selling maybe, previously at farmers markets and things like that, they've now gone online. So I definitely think businesses have pivoted and have really developed their online premises, which is a very positive outcome, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, it's something that is great to see. Just see, we have another comment coming in there. We just pop it up. At the end, there's another great local initiative in Mayo Movie World doing drive-ins, and I think that's something I think that's great to see because I see them popping up all around the country, the drive-in movies, and having spent a little bit of time in the States and experienced the American style, but I have to say the ones I've gone to here are every bit as good and that type of thing. So it's something, again, it's nice to see opportunities there for people. So, in terms of the Western Development Commission, Karen, what can we expect to hear about in the future? What surprises have they got coming up?
So currently we're doing a lot of work with hubs across the region. And in the next maybe 4 weeks or so, we're going to be launching a really exciting project supporting a network of hubs. So that's a watch and see for us.
Well, that's great. And what about in the world of banking? Any big surprises coming, do you think, Niall? Or?
Well, look at the landscape is changing. We've all heard the word about KBC, and Ulster Bank will be in the market in the next year or two. So I suppose in the way the competition is almost shrinking, and we don't want to see that in banking either. Like, we want as much competition there as possible because it's good for consumers. At the end of the day, they're the people who take out the product. But it's certainly very interesting with the KBC and the Ulster and all the rest. It's certainly very much changing times for banking. Karen talks about hubs going digital. The banks effectively have gone digital to an extent. I suppose from the current accounts of Permanent TSB actually went online yesterday to open a current account in the space of 10 or 15 minutes. So like that type of stuff was leaped forward in a pandemic. I think a lot of the hospitality industry and all of the companies around Ireland have done probably the work in the last year that maybe they thought would have taken 10 years in a normal time. We've all really upped our game from a technological perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And Conor, what exciting bits and pieces are going to come from FightFix over the coming months can we expect? Or?
Yeah, well, would you believe this when we're talking about the country reopening? This time last year, we at FightFix were due to start clinical research on products for blood pressure and blood sugar. Yeah, that was all based on my award-winning research. We spent about a year working on the regulations and ethics, and then COVID-19 came and cancelled those plans. There was no way we could do research in the hospital in the middle of the COVID crisis, especially when it was so new. As the hospitals start to get a little bit less overwhelmed and a little bit pressure on them, research will become more and more possible. And I've had some kind of advanced conversations with my clinical colleagues about restarting the research at some point, hopefully this year. But it kind of depends, and I might just weigh in and let you all know and all the listeners know that our blood pressure product is quite interesting because it actually makes blood vessels bigger. If you imagine your blood vessel and make it bigger, it means more blood can flow, and the pressure in the heart doesn't have to work any harder. And this is a Nobel Prize-winning molecule called nitric oxide. Again, it makes the blood vessels bigger. So there's very few things in the world that can do it. There's very few medications, but we can do it with nutrition, which is really phenomenal. And then our preliminary research in our blood sugar product shows, if we go out instead of a light lunch, if we go out and have a heavy lunch, our blood sugars will shoot up, and then they will come down slowly. And this is not a good thing to be happening, especially not right here. What our product can do is it can have that spike in blood sugar not go so high after a single meal. So again, if we have a large lunch today and have the same large lunch tomorrow with our product, the blood sugar spike isn't as high, and that's really interesting from a kind of a medical stand. So look out for our research.
Right. Well, on that basis, then, are people better if they were to have their main meal in the middle of the day, or should they actually be having it in the evening, several hours before bed?
Yeah, it's kind of a controversial field, because the research is not quite good enough. There is some kind of plausible evidence that having a main meal in the middle of the day might be a little bit better, but what probably seems to be the most beneficial is actually just leaving a gap between bed. So if somebody goes to bed at midnight, they probably shouldn't eat after 7 p.m. If someone goes to bed at 11 p.m., maybe 6 p.m., something like that. So like a gap of 3, 4, 5 hours before you go to bed is probably a good rule of thumb.
And again, does it really make a difference then whether if they have their main meal in the middle of the day and then have a snack in the evening for 3-4 hours before bed, or is it better just to graze through the day on small snacks all day and then have a large meal in the evening and go into almost fast mode from there through the night?
Yeah, so I mean, the evidence would show that the most important thing is to have that gap before you go to bed, whatever time you do go to bed at. In terms of the timing of your main meal, it's not as important as what you eat for your main meal. So if you're having a McDonald's and a Coke or whatever, it doesn't matter if you have it at noon or at
Yeah,
7. It's not going to be the healthiest thing. But where I live, if I go for a walk at maybe 10:30 before going to bed, there's a lot of people going in and getting takeaways at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And presumably they're going to bed at maybe 11:30 or 12, but they've just had a big takeaway, and that's not the best thing for your body and your digestion.
yeah, no, absolutely, I can understand that, and again, it makes total sense that have to do that. So, as a relatively new business, we'll still start with yourself there, Connor. If somebody came to you and said, "Look, I have this fabulous idea for a business," what advice would you give them before they start?
Yeah, so I think the first protocol for us at FightFX was the local enterprise office here in County Lite, so Lite local enterprise office. And there's local enterprise offices all around the country, and I would say that's a really good starting point, because they have access to mentors, expertise, to different workshops, and also to funding. And they might just say, well, look, it's not we don't think it's a good idea. Maybe you shouldn't pursue it. Or they might say, this is fantastic. Let's see how we can help. But at the very least, it gets a conversation started. And for a company, for a very new business or a very new business idea, I think that's a really good place to start. And just bounce your ideas off people. Like if you have a really interesting idea which might be secretive, you can still ask some people their opinion without maybe giving everything away. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to come from it unless somebody knows what it is. So you're going to have to maybe have a conversation with someone you trust. So it's just about getting out there, local enterprise office, and just talking to people, bouncing your idea off. If let's say if I had a new idea for a product to let's say to make my hair pink, does
Yeah,
anyone want that? So let me talk to someone, and Noel, would you be interested in that? Karen, would you? And if everybody's saying no, then it's probably not so much of a good idea. So that's just a kind of a wacky example, but local enterprise office and talk to people.
yeah, and I just see there another message coming in. It'll come up now for us. Yeah, and Connor or Monique, we're absolutely delighted to have Connor join us, and I know he's had a hectic schedule, and we're delighted he managed to squeeze in some time to spend a little bit of time with us today.
Yeah,
So,
and sorry, thanks for having me again, Ruairi and Monique, or if anybody wants to connect with me, as aside from the business, I'm on all social media platforms, including LinkedIn, Conor Curley, and it's KERLEY. My email address is just conorcurleynutrition@gmail.com. So if anybody is interested in talking to me or finding out anything more about nutrition or anything, please do feel free to get in touch.
yeah, no, as I said, we're absolutely delighted. I mean, we appreciate the time that all our guests take to spend a little bit of time with us. So, Karen, what about yourself? What would your advice be to somebody if somebody came to you and said, I'm thinking about starting this business. What do you think?"
I think the first thing I would advise someone is, if you want to start a business, make sure that it's something that you're very passionate about, because it's a long and sometimes can be a lonely road being self-employed. So it really has to be something that you're very passionate about. The other thing I would always advise people, and Connor touched on this, is do your market research. It doesn't mean that you have to have a 20-page long market research document. It could just be asking friends and family, doing a quick survey, or reaching out to people that are already in that industry and talking to people about whether or not there's actually a market for your product or your service. So they would be two big pieces of advice I would always give people as a starting point. And then obviously there's lots of organizations out there that are helping and supporting businesses and startups, so your local enterprise office, but also your local development companies. If you've been long-term unemployed or even short-term unemployed, there's supports that you can avail of through the Department of Social Protection, such as Back to Work Enterprise Allowance Scheme and things like that. So what I would say is just, speak to people who are there to support you, and talk to as many people as you can. And what you'll find is that people are always more than willing to help.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And what about yourself, Niall, from a banking point of view? What would you say to people? Would you be advising them more on look at your financials closely? Can you afford to do this? Or would you be saying to them, look at your plan going forward? Or how would you approach it?
Yeah, I think a bit of banner. I suppose their advice I always give is twofold. In that, number one, get a really good accountant. And the reason I say that is the best accountants will not always just keep the books in order, but will also advise you as to what they think is best. Like, these people are professionals, they're very experienced, and have a realm of clients that could very well be in the same industry that you were looking at getting into. And then from our own profession in the bank, I think it's important, come in and talk to them, sit down with them and say, well, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Will this work for you? What services do you have? What's your business banking like? What's your transfer limits? And are they a good fit for you? It's okay to go in and get an interview, and if it's not right for you, then say thanks a million, thanks for your time, we're done here now, type of thing, So a good accountant and a good starting relationship with the bank, and just ask as much questions and get as much advice as you can, because I suppose it's important for us too. We want you to be our customer for the future, and we want to lend you money. We want your business to grow. So, like, if you come to us from the get-go and we grow with you, like, it's a win-win for everybody, really.
Yeah, I think absolutely. And from an accounting point of view, I'd back up what you're saying that it's. And the only thing I would add to it, though, is when you're looking to know, do you think this is a good idea and do you think this is the right way to go? Never ask your mommy, because every Irish mother will tell you, absolutely, son, we know anything you want to do, you're going to be the one to change the world. So that's the only caveat I put on that. Right, well, I know we're slightly ahead of time, but I think we'll leave it there. We've covered pretty much everything. I really would like to thank my guests today, Dr. Conor Curley, Karen Sweeney, and Niall Doyle. And just to mention, in 2 weeks' time, we actually have a very special show on. We're going to be doing a UK special with a number of businesses in the UK to celebrate a month out of lockdown and to give us all an indication of what we can look forward to. So they'll all be joining us, as I said, 2 weeks' time, 12:45, right here. And hopefully you'll all be joining us too. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you all soon.